My birthright! My destiny!
Power was never just something Homelander had. Power is who Homelander is. Strip away the laser eyes, the flight, the invulnerability, and the fear he creates just by walking into a room, and what is actually left? That is the real question at the center of his story. Because for most villains, death is the ultimate punishment. It is the final ending, the clean conclusion, the moment where justice is served and the story closes. But for Homelander, death may actually be mercy. Death is fast. Death is silence. Death means he never has to live with the one thing he has feared his entire life: being ordinary. And that is why the worst possible fate for Homelander is not dying. It is surviving. Surviving without power. Because if The Boys has been building toward anything, it is not just the fall of a villain. It is the destruction of a god. And gods are not punished by death. They are punished by being forced to live as men. Homelander has spent his entire life believing he is above humanity, stronger than it, smarter than it, more necessary than it. He does not see people as equals. He sees them as insects, background noise, fragile little creatures whose only purpose is to either love him or fear him.
She foretold my destiny. I'm the savior of the world.
But that belief is not just arrogance, it is survival. Homelander was never raised to be human. He was raised to be a product, a weapon, a corporate experiment wrapped in an American flag. He never had a real childhood. No mother, no father, no genuine love. Just doctors, scientists, bright lights, cold rooms, and people studying him like he was something to survive rather than someone to protect. That kind of childhood does not create a man. It creates hunger. The desperate, endless hunger to be loved. That is the contradiction at the center of Homelander. He wants absolute control, but even more than that, he wants affection. Real affection. He wants people to choose him, not because they are terrified, but because they genuinely love him. But he has no idea how to earn that, because no one ever taught him what love actually looks like. So he replaces love with worship. If they fear him enough, maybe it feels the same. If they obey him enough, maybe it counts. If the crowd cheers loudly enough, maybe the emptiness goes quiet for a moment. But it never does, because power cannot fill loneliness. It can only hide it. And that is why losing his powers would destroy him in a way death never could. Imagine Homelander waking up one day and realizing the lasers are gone, the strength is gone, the invincibility is gone. For the first time in his life, pain becomes real. For the first time, fear belongs to him. For the first time, he walks into a room and nobody steps back. Nobody flinches. Nobody looks at him like a god. They just look at him like a man. That would be unbearable.
I suffered so many hardships, and I couldn't understand why.
Because Homelander does not know how to exist without superiority. His identity is built entirely on being untouchable. Remove that, and you are not just weakening him, you are erasing him. This is why a powerless Homelander is more terrifying than a dead one. Because he would be forced to confront the truth he has spent his entire life running from. Without power, who are you? And the honest answer may be nobody. No symbol, no God, no savior. Just John. Just the frightened little boy in the lab who never learned how to be loved. That is the punishment. Not pain. Reflection. And in many ways, the show has already been preparing us for this. Look at every moment where Homelander begins to panic. It is never just physical danger. It is humiliation, rejection, the possibility that someone sees weakness. When people stop clapping, he unravels. When people choose someone else, he spirals. When Ryan questions him, it cuts deeper than any weapon ever could. Because emotional vulnerability is his true kryptonite. Not Soldier Boy, not Butcher, not even death. Shame. That is why Ryan matters so much. Ryan is not just his son. Ryan is his proof that he can be more than what Vought made him. If Ryan loves him, then maybe he is not a monster. Maybe he is a father. Maybe he is worthy of something real. But if Ryan rejects him, that illusion dies. And if Homelander loses both Ryan and his powers, that is not defeat. It is existential collapse. He would be forced to live in the world he despises most, the normal one. No fear, no worship, no automatic obedience, just consequences. And maybe prison is part of that. Not a dramatic death in the sky. Not a final laser battle. A courtroom. A chair. A sentence. People looking at him not with terror, but disappointment. Imagine Homelander sitting in silence while ordinary humans decide his fate. That is justice. Because death lets him remain a legend, powerlessness makes him a warning. It turns the myth into a man. And honestly, that fits the boys far better than some giant explosive finale. This story has never really been about superheroes. It has always been about systems, celebrity, politics, corporate corruption, manufactured gods. Homelander is not scary just because he is strong. He is scary because the world built itself around protecting people like him. Taking his powers is symbolic. It says the machine no longer works. It says the myth is over. It says the world no longer needs to fear him. That matters more than killing him. Because if Homelander dies in battle, some people will still worship him. Martyrs are powerful. Symbols survive death. But a powerless Homelander? A broken Homelander? A man forced to stand in front of the same humanity he mocked and admit he is no better than them. That kills the symbol forever. And there is poetic justice in that. Because Homelander's entire life was built on the idea that power makes you valuable, that strength determines worth, and that weakness deserves contempt. So the perfect ending is forcing him to live by his own philosophy. Let him feel helpless. Let him feel ignored. Let him feel disposable. Let him understand what he did to everyone else, not for one moment, but for the rest of his life. That is real punishment. That is justice. And strangely, it may also be the only chance Homelander ever has to become human. Because once the god dies, maybe something else can exist in the ruins. Not redemption. Some crimes are too large for that, but understanding. A final, brutal understanding of what he actually was. Not a king. Not a savior. Not a god. Just a broken man given too much power and never taught what love was supposed to look like. And that is why the ending of The Boys should not be Homelander's death. It should be his survival. Breathing, aging, powerless. Forced to wake up every day in a world where nobody is afraid anymore. A world where applause cannot save him. A world where he has to look in the mirror and see not Homelander, but John. For a man like him, that is worse than death. That is the ending he truly deserves.